joined now by a guy who I work with and have worked with for 6 years?
Yeah.
And we haven't met in person.
Yeah. First time, yesterday.
Yesterday.
It was a glorious moment.
It was. My heart was warm. Chris Flint, my colleague at SiriusXM, who also do middays or late morning. What do you call it? Late mornings.
Mid mornings, something like that. Yeah, it's 9 to noon
coffee,
Central Time, right?
Beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
When it show starts, coffee. Show's over, tall boy. That's how it works.
Sounds like my life. So I have angered all of your listeners. Because apparently I hate Oklahoma.
The best thing about it, and I apologize, because when I look at you, I feel like I'm looking up into the sun's surface.
That's why we turned the set this way. Honestly, hold on. Let's do this. I know this is not professional.
Look at that. It's like a fireball. You can see my bald spot right up here at the top. That's fantastic. Yeah. It's a blazing sun out there. Do you know what's funny about it, though, Barrett, is I've always marveled at your ability to handle the haters. I think I think you do a great job with having fun with it while respecting, the opinions and things of that nature that people have. But I was blown away. We have a text line. I brought you up. I'm like, dude, you got to see the text line. You got to see the text line. And it was just he went on our local show, and it was just a slot machine of he doesn't know what he's talking about. How dare he? And my point to everyone has been, listen, Oklahoma's got to go prove it. There's incredible history. There's incredible tradition. There's no one's questioning that. It's just you got to go out and prove it. And when you've had 2 seasons with, what was it, 16 wins in 2 seasons, you got to go get it done. And so I think Oklahoma fans are somewhat starting to embrace that, but we'll see.
So I read the text line. I disagree with you. They are not at all embracing what the SEC will be. Now, Oklahoma, to me, and we've talked about this on the show, your show. We've talked about this on when we worked together on SiriusXM. Right. To me, Oklahoma is Auburn. It is. It's not Georgia. It's Tennessee.
Right.
It's a team that going to be solid most seasons. Might have a down year, but when it pops, it's going to be in the national championship.
Yep.
But generally speaking, an above-average team that has a lot of success and a little bit of failure. But it's never going to be a disaster, and once every 3 or 4 years, you could be at a spot where you win a national championship. Is that fair?
I think it's fair, but it's also, like, you would say the exact opposite about Texas. You would think Texas is going to come in here and compete year in and year out, right?
I think Texas can.
Oklahoma's dominated Texas in the Big 12. And that's my only pushback, too, because I think everyone's opinion is awesome. But this sudden Texas is amazing, and they're really good. They got a really good quarterback. I think people are sleeping on how much they have to replace skill position-wise and in the interior. But Oklahoma has been superior to Texas consistently in the Big 12.
They have. But here's the thing, and I will push back, and I talked about this yesterday on your station. With Texas going to the playoff last year, all of the money that always flows into Austin is just going to be
they're slinging it
I'm
now.
A crypto guy, right? I mean, they're just investing in Bitcoin and it's going up 10x. So that's why I think Texas is going to be.
And I don't disagree on that. I think what's going to be really this is year 3.
Yeah.
The Brian Kelly year 3s have always been amazing, right? Sure. The year 3, can go one of 2 ways. You can go the way historically that Brian Kelly has done. And you talked to Shane Beamer yesterday. I love Shane Beamer. His year 3 kind of went the opposite way,
and
right?
That's South Carolina's new role.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he doesn't like to hear that.
But I think this is one of those seasons where Oklahoma got a really tough draw. As far as the schedule is concerned, schedule makers didn't do you any favors.
They hate them. It used to be Arkansas, now it's Oklahoma.
Yeah,
they moved one state.
Yeah, exactly. They moved the state. But I really feel like for me to be able to stand here and beat the table and say how dare you disrespect this and that, I want to make sure And because I feel it in my bones. I've been around good, I've been around bad, I've been around elite, I've been around terrible. I feel like Oklahoma's on the cusp of something, but they got to go show it.
They got to show it.
They got to show it, and that's the thing. I think you're going to love hearing Danny Stutzman today, and Billy Bowman. They're great. I can't wait to see how Jackson Arnold handles the stage. And Brent Venables he's a different bird, right? He's cut from a different cloth. The man's up at 5 a.m. running 5 miles every single day, and how you do anything is how you do everything. So I'm really pumped to see how they handle today. And then Barrett, let's see if they go in and they have that solid first year in the SEC, then maybe there's a completely different narrative around it, but they got to go prove it in the SEC, because I think I don't want to speak for you, but I think if you were to go around here and ask every single person from every single school, like an Auburn person or an Arkansas person, they would say, oh yeah, we would have been competing for Big 12 championships every single year too. They feel
every single year.
Yeah, every single school would say that.
Every single one.
And I try to tell people that I hate to say lack of respect, but I use the word.
100% is lack of respect.
Okay,
100%.
There's no respect for the Big 12, and
even after Texas
went
to the playoff,
right,
and was 15 yards from beating Washington in the Sugar Bowl. And yes, I've been coming to this event. I'm 43. Mm-hmm. My first one was 2001. I actually celebrated my 21st birthday at SEC Media Days.
How nice! Was that in Alabama?
It was at the Winfrey. There are some stories about some people that you recognize very well and have been in this business for a very long
look
time.
It's like, okay, all right.
I'm not going to talk about it, but let's just say there were some drinks consumed.
Ooh, I like it.
At Gabriel's. So. Yes, there's disrespect among everybody in the SEC.
Sure.
They look down even at Texas because I think there's this idea that Texas is arrogant, that it is all sizzle, no steak. And it's weird because of all of that, Oklahoma kind of gets
under the radar.
I know you. I think that's a good thing.
I love it.
And I think Brent Venables, the way he operates, is perfectly fine with that.
And then I think it's a card that no one will ever say they play, right? No one ever wants to say, until they're on the field and you picked Georgia to win the title all year long, and they're like, no one believed in us. It's like
everyone said they were going to go 7-5.
Right?
What?
No one said that.
One said that.
But I think Coach is a great motivator, even from his days as a defensive coordinator. I think even from Brent Venables' days as a player at Kansas State. And I think he knows the buttons to push, and I think he's got a good feel for this team. So I agree with you. I think they like the idea that there's not going to, when the media poll is released, and Barrett, I don't know when you're dropping the show, but when the media poll is released on Friday, I don't think Oklahoma's going to be like 8th. Maybe.
I think 8th's fair.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a group of like A&M, Auburn, Oklahoma.
It's going to be in that group, yeah.
I think that's kind of where they're going to be.
And I firmly believe that that's going to be even more of a see they don't respect, because Texas is probably going to be 2.
Texas
right?
will be 2. 100%.
Yeah. Georgia 1.
Well,
Texas.
I wouldn't say 100%. They're going to be 2 on mine.
Where do you stand right now? And where I don't know if you have talked about your ballot or not. Where have you placed Alabama? What has been your take on
right
that?
now? And I go through and I grab a helmet schedule and I just kind of go through win-loss because I could sit here and say I think this is going to be where each team is ranked, but if we're talking about the end of the season, you have to have proper context.
That's right.
And so that's what I do. And right now I have Alabama 4th. I have Georgia and Texas. Actually, I have Texas number 1, Georgia number 2, because they beat Georgia in Austin, which is going to be. I don't think that's crazy.
Maybe the game of the year.
And then Ole Miss, and then Alabama.
It's just because to me, today as we're talking here at Media Day, it's Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Missouri, and I think it's 4 of the most fascinating teams this season. But hearing Nick Saban yesterday, walking in there and seeing him at the ESPN desk, I'm like,
weird.
What's he doing up there?
Him saying Georgia and Texas are going to win, it's like, dude, you've been here for 16 years. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, wait, hold on.
You're not
so it's been really hard for me to get a feel on what my expectations are going to be for the Kalen DeBoer Alabama team. But, they're talented. Yeah. So that all goes into the unknown, I think, for Oklahoma going in, especially knowing that Alabama's on your schedule coming in, knowing you got to go to Ole Miss, knowing that you got a tough road trip to LSU, 2 teams that kind of kicked off Media Day yesterday. So it's It's a very, very interesting schedule for Oklahoma that hurts when you think about it.
It is.
It's painful.
It is fascinating. So, let's talk about Jackson Arnold.
I think you're going to love him.
I've heard great. You've told me that a lot, and I trust you more than some of my other co-hosts like Louisville.
Can't trust
He's
Luke.
not here, so you can't yell.
Yeah, that's right.
But to me, Jackson Arnold in terms of the SEC is like Connor Wegman. And, you know, some of these other guys who, Nico Iamaleava, you've seen a little bit of a taste. You have an appetizer. It's been good. Has not been jaw-dropping.
Right.
But didn't suck.
Right.
So, in terms of where he is, what does he need to improve? What did you see in his experience last year, and what do you still need to see?
I've thought about Jackson's performance in the Alamo Bowl a lot. Not because it was concerning, because it was exciting. But in that same kind of way of thinking, late in that game, Arizona had a lead, and they're like, we're just going to drop 8. Yep. And you've got to make a play. And you go back, and there's times where he's holding the ball for like 8 seconds back there. Yeah. You know, you're counting in your head, you're like, do something. So I think just in those moments where adversity had hit, being a quarterback in the biggest conference in college football, he's going to have to learn on the job. He's got to learn in those moments. I think all the intangibles are there, right? He's got the big arm. He's got he's a dual threat guy, true dual threat guy, and he's got the team. You know, the guys seem to like him and rally around him. But when the live bullets start flying, whenever it's a world that, you know, suddenly you've got a defense that's doing things differently than what you saw on film, and you've got to communicate that with your new offensive coordinator. And it is a new offense, but how different is it under Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley with Lebs going to Mississippi State? I don't know. You know, Baker came in as a transfer. Kyler came in as a transfer. Jalen Hurts came in as a transfer. Not a lot of Oklahoma fans remember it, but there was a lot of hype around Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler was supposed to be...
And he wasn't bad.
No, he wasn't. He was supposed to be the perfect guy.
He wasn't those three.
He wasn't Caleb Williams either. And so I feel like sometimes we'll get over our skis, the royal we, about a guy out of high school. You know, my history is obviously in the Big 12, the Bobby Reeds of the world,
sure.
those guys who came in as ballyhooed recruits and it never pans out. So you got to see it, you know, with Jackson in these big moments. The sample size that we have in bowl games and in that appearance of BYU was promising, but the mistakes were freshman mistakes. So you hope.
And you learn from your mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the best lessons you learn.
I try to steal your drink. But that is pretty sharp, right? Man. How can I get some of those? Those are nice. Big time. But I'm a big believer in Jackson, and it's not, you know, I think the reality is it's not really based on anything we've seen yet in an Oklahoma uniform. Yeah. It's you got to see that on the field. And, you know, thankfully Oklahoma has 3 very winnable games in their non-conference before Tennessee comes in. So you hope you can work the bugs out. And you got to go to Auburn, and who knows what Auburn might be this year. I
think they're going to be a little bit better than you.
I do too. You know, Hugh Freeze has had that history of getting things going, and I don't think it's going to be any different in Auburn. I hope it waits until after, week 6.
Yeah.
But it all hinges on Jackson Arnold. Your quarterback's got to be really good. And I'll tell you what, Brent Venables has not shied away. I think you'll see it today. He'll talk about complementary football. He'll talk about doing the things that need to be done to have a good defense and have good special teams and have good offensive line play and everything. But he's not afraid to put it on Jackson and say, our quarterback's got to be really good.
What also will be good is the defense. And the old folks here, and I say like older than me and older than you.
Older than us.
They truly think that the Big 12 doesn't play defense, which is not true.
Right, it's getting better at that.
Oklahoma is very experienced. We have 2 defenders here. What is the one thing holding Oklahoma back from being the lead this year? Is there?
Yeah, you know, they got to be. The defense is really good. It's brought back. I think it's like 74.
Something like that.
It's a very high percentage. Here's the thing: Oklahoma's offensive line has got to be good.
Yeah,
really good. And it's so unknown, Barrett. It's so unknown. You know, they had to go. Or I don't want to say had to, but they chose to go into the portal to bring in a center after Troy Everett got hurt during the spring. And I think in Bronson Hickman, the guy they brought in from SMU, I think he's pretty good.
Yeah.
But we'd have to turn to our buddy Gabe Eicher to ask about center play. Losing Caden Green to Missouri, I mean, that was a gut punch.
That was hard. That's one of those things in terms of SEC transfers.
Yeah.
That nobody talks about.
Yeah, that hurt. That hurt. And, what's the story? It's Oklahoma fans believe there was tampering, and he kind of left.
Well, there was tampering.
No, okay.
I mean, just tampering with everybody.
Yeah,
that's
true.
just the default answer.
But you were going to position him in where he wanted to be a guard. If he wanted to go out to tackle, and he was going to be there for the next 2 years. Well, he goes. So now you got to figure out your guards. You have one guy coming back that started games last year, and Jacob Sexton. Now that Caden Green left, you hit the portal and brought in Michael Tarquin, who had been at Florida and USC, and he played all spring at left tackle. Spencer Brown came in from Michigan State and hadn't played all that well. So it's the great unknown. It's been the biggest question mark. Everyone that goes to practice and has that ability came away being, I don't know about this offensive line. And then Barrett, they went out and played pretty well in the spring. So they've got to be elite on the offensive line. And then, in the trenches on the defensive side of the football, bringing in Dominic Williams from TCU was a big move for them. Jaden Jackson is a true freshman. David Stone is a true freshman. But they're ballyhooed recruits. They're big-time guys. You don't want to count on a true freshman, a defensive tackle. But I think I guess in general, I'm saying the thing that everyone's telling me to be SEC ready is an area where, hey, Oklahoma's got to be good there. That's in the trenches, right? And especially on the offensive line. And listen, Jackson Arnold's just got to learn. You're going to have some lumps. You're going to have some problems. But he's got to learn from those problems and get better, and I think he will.
Chris, appreciate it.
Good man, Barrett. Love you, man.
Good to see you, and tell folks where they can catch you.
Find me at Plank Show. That's the easy way, man. Easy way to go find it, and I tweet a lot about NASCAR and softball. We got 4 straight titles.
Now, talk about SEC ready. Definitely SEC ready for that. And if you want to see people yell at me,
oh my gosh, go look at my mentions.
Go look at his mentions. Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks.